to the 15th GPCA Annual Forum. My name is Al-Bassam. I'm a research specialist at GPCA, and I'm the chair of the new upcoming initiative that we have, the GPCA Youth Committee. With me today is a very special guest, Mr. Engineer Sami Sarhan, the Head of Industry Innovation Engagement at the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, also known as KAUST. Engineer Sami, thank you for taking the time to join us today. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying the time with being here in GPCA, and thank you very much for the interview and for the time.
Thank you, Engineer Sami. Allow me to dive into the questions right away. So as someone who's worked in the energy industry previously and is now engaged with research and academia in the kingdom, it would be interesting to know your thoughts on the role of industry-academia collaboration in helping to support the innovation in the region and also advance socio-economic development.
Absolutely. So the universities very much house of wisdoms, and if those wisdoms and knowledge and science, they are not put into use, then honestly speaking, then they will always be stayed in the lab or in that scientific environment. I think what we are doing in King Abdullah University for Science and Technology is trying to build that bridge between industry and academia and try to close the gap as much as possible. I think the very much collaborations that we do with industries to make sure that they are actually approached by our scientists and they put research into use. Let me put it that way. We as a university, we don't create the impact. The impact are being done by the users of that science and research. Those are the guys who actually take our publications, take our paper, take our research that happens inside and apply it into the industry. So I think that's a very important role we as a university do, and we're trying to, as much as possible, reach out and try to create that socio-economic impact that you're talking. So when, for example, just very quickly, if a users take, for example, a technology, and then he applies that technology into the plants, so obviously they will hire people, they will be able to create the impact that's required.
I think that's great. So essentially, basically it's a platform.
Exactly. So we, alhamdulillah, in KAUST, we've been approaching industry. Today we are in GPCA. We are in an environment like that with, in the booth, people look at us, why universities between chemical and petroleum? We said, we create for you a corridor to our laboratories.
Yeah.
We create for you a path. Come, give us your challenge.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is it that you have a problem with?
Yeah.
I have scientists, I have PhD students, master students who are working on these projects who can actually help the industry and solve the problems.
It's great to hear. So it's basically a platform to basically bridge the gap between
Exactly.
the industry and academia. That's great. Collaborations like that are always encouraged, I believe. Now on to the next question, Engineer Sami. Tell us more about the KAUST Industry Collaboration Program. Why did you decide to launch it, and what are some of its key objectives?
Absolutely. So KICP, we call it KAUST Industry Collaboration Program. When the university was established in 2009, the leaders of the university understood the collaborations with the industry. They understood how it is important for a university to talk to the industry. So they created these programs. It's by invitations for, I would say, leaders in each industry. We have companies now where they actually come up with some challenges, and they will tell us, okay, we would like those challenges to be solved. Not only that, through the programs we help them to also hire students. Through the programs, we ask them to, why don't you, hire PhD or master students, and we do job fairs 2 times a year, particularly for those collaborators with us. Now, not only that as well, if I'd like to add, the members of the KICP program, at some certain points, they look at research particularly and drive some of the research at the university. if, for example, a member comes and say, look, I would like a research to be done in water desalinations, for example, then those researchers and PI look at it very seriously and look at that particular challenge and look at how they can expand the research based on industry request that's coming in.
It's also nice that you touched upon basically how can companies hire them. I think that's also related to the socio-economic development that we touched upon in the earlier question.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So the subsequent question to this basically would be, how can companies join and what are the benefits they can get from this?
Exactly. So be honest with you, we are now at our 12 years of the program. We are going to a full revamp. We used to be strategic members. They are by invitations.
Yes.
We actually send them in invitations to join us. And what we have a second category, what we call enablers. And those are mainly government agencies. Okay? The membership, there is a fee for it. So we are revising it and we're looking back on how best we can expand the memberships that's available. It is available on our website. If you go at KAUST.edu.sa, you will be able to look at the details of the benefits that are provided by the members. I think if I may quickly look at one major benefit is that you're associating yourself with a pioneer university. You're associating yourself with a house of wisdom, a beacon of knowledge. You will be able to have a first hand of any research that's coming out of the university and be able to know first what is it.
I think that's very interesting and it's a great platform actually. Now shifting to another question, we're going to be talking about the Vision 2030.
Yes, please.
So the Saudi Vision 2030 is built around three primary areas or primary themes basically. A vibrant society, a thriving economy, and an ambitious nation. What in your views are some of the key enablers to help drive this vision forward?
Look, I can speak about many enablers, but if I focus on one thing is extremely important, is that the mindset of the economical diversification is extremely important. For many, many years, the kingdom was relying on oil and gas and petrochemicals and so on and so forth. However, I think if I summarize the Vision 2030, the Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman and his crew, when they put the Vision 2030, they wanted to make sure that people understand we are going into a different era. We are no longer only depending on oil and gas. So shifting the mindset of the people, understanding how important economical diversification is probably one of the major enablers. And I think what we're doing in KAUST, where everywhere we go, we actually take this with us. For example, we always talk about innovation, okay? For some time, innovation was a privilege. Innovation was a nice to have. But today is no longer nice to have. It is important. You have to innovate. If you don't innovate, you will leave the market or you will be at the last seat.
Yes.
Vision 2030, for example, is pushing for digital transformation.
Yes.
And I think, again, that's one of the things that is no longer nice to have. You really have to cope up with all of these technologies that's coming out. So what we do in KAUST, we go on out and we talk to these companies, talk to people and say, look, I think it is time for you to go back and revisit all of these subjects and treat it very seriously, because that's, in my humble opinion, will be the most important enabler for them to understand the Vision 2030 and be able to work. Now, there's a lot of other things around it, and I will, people can go and read and educate about Vision 2030 about themselves. However, understanding the Vision 2030 from the mind shift, and we have seen, alhamdulillah, the government of Saudi Arabia and the kingdom itself is moving rapidly.
Yes.
Probably everybody is looking at the news and understanding how this actually transformation is happening in the kingdom.
Alhamdulillah, I think that's amazing. These are amazing insights actually that you touched upon, and you've also highlighted the fact that KAUST does a lot of research,
Yes.
a lot of interesting research, which brings me to my next question. So you've recently conducted a study related to the readiness of small and medium enterprises (SMEs) when it comes to R&D and innovation. In particular, the study highlighted the gaps in the SME ecosystems related to R&D, innovation, technology adoption. Can you tell us more about your findings in light of the SME's role in supporting the industrial ecosystem in the region and its economic growth?
Exactly, brilliant question. So, small medium enterprises. I wanted to say this. It's the engine of any economy. If you look at the contributions in many economies of the SMEs into the GDP, it's at least 45%. Now, when the vision was actually put on, they actually created a specific pillar for SMEs. And the vision was saying we needed SME contributions from 20% to 35% by 2030.
Yeah.
Now, imagine that is only 2.1 trillion Saudi. And if we all don't put our hands together and be able to help, we will not be able to reach there. So what we did in KAUST, we looked at this and said, how a research university, scientific university, particularly help and support small and medium enterprises. If I go today to a large company, let's say Saudi Aramco, and I speak about R&D, it will not take them time to understand R&D. They will know it upon immediately. They understand what is R&D. In the SME sector, R&D is completely different. Some of them think about it as a quality. Some of them think about it as engineering. Some of them it's even small projects that are not related to R&D that we understand. The whole idea was that when we did the survey, we wanted them to tell us how can a university help them. And I can tell you, we have received over 500 replies. I can say it's a wealth of information. We found gaps in 3 areas. We found gaps related to R&D, and we found gaps related to innovation, and we found gaps related to skill development. So immediately what we did, we started develop programs for them. For example, 45% of them were saying lack of know-how and lack of resources. Then I immediately went and created a beautiful program, by the way, everybody can visit it. It's KPP, KAUST Partnership Program. It's kpp.kaust.edu.sa. I have created a window for SME to come and talk to us in KAUST. Tell us what is your problem. Tell us what is your challenge. Ever since I started this, alhamdulillah, on a weekly basis, I'm getting 4 to 5 requests. This is back almost 1 year now. I go and look at those requests and make sure that they are actually can be translated to something that we can do. In addition, what I did, I created a skill development programs. Well, we created 3 different tracks. One track we call it Rakmana, digitization. The other track we call it Fikra, anything related to ideations of soft innovation. And the third one we call it Qalab, anything related to prototyping. Ever since we started this, alhamdulillah, I can tell you in less than a year and a half, we have over 1,000 SME been trained. Alhamdulillah, and it's increasing, and it's going. Every time I open a class, for 30, 40 people, I get an application of 700 SME wants to join us. Slowly, the word of mouth, the people understood the quality of it. So going back to your question, so we identified these 3 gaps, and we have actually created program for each of these gaps and be able to address them. Alhamdulillah, we have now good success stories. A lot of these SMEs tend to understand KAUST. They are actually coming and residing in our research park, for example. Some of these SMEs are actually coming and working with our core labs, for example. So that is ongoing, and we are committed to this particular sector, inshallah, and to expand our service.
Inshallah. So you have mentioned that, basically this program helps in the training process of the SMEs.
Yes.
Which is great, because this actually brings me to my next question.
Yes.
Which is, how important is SME training to help build a robust ecosystem in the SME ecosystem in the region?
Absolutely. Look, SME today, as per the General Authority of Small and Medium Enterprises, their contributions to the GDP today, as we speak, is about 27.8. We're close to 28%. Now, what I think the training is, knowledge is power, okay? And I think it's probably one of the most important enabler for any SMEs. A lot of these SME comes and tell me, look, I do not know how to do that. You know? I'll give you an example. For example, when we ask them about what type of training do you guys need, they're hearing about the hypes of AI, for example, but they don't know how AI works. They're hearing about IoTs. They don't know how Internet of Things works out. So what I did, I started creating classes for them. And immediately, some of my SMEs, when they attended the IoT class, for example, they went back to their company and applied. Boom, that's my KPI right there. That's my impact. But alhamdulillah, a lot of SMEs, when they attend with us, they see the value of the knowledge. Why? Because we lowered the tone from a research in IoT to applied IoT. I'm telling you how to use this particular knowledge and be able to go and apply it. And that makes a big difference. And I have lots of examples, digital transformation.
Yes.
I did, for example, lots of training and sessions for digital transformations for particularly SME CEOs. A lot of them did not know, for example, that ERP, enterprise resource planning, that can actually help them in their company. I've done good training around prototyping.
Yes.
An SME, for example, wants to develop a product, but they don't know how to develop it. I'll help them with that. You know what I'm saying? So we lowered our tone from, as a university, talking about big research into something that this particular sector can understand. We're speaking now their languages, and we're actually putting things into their hands so they can immediately go and use.
Yeah, so essentially just a less intimidating tone, basically, to communicate.
Exactly.
To communicate.
Exactly.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah, you cannot put an SME, with all the respect now, there could be some that actually can't talk to PIs or researchers, but if you put an SME who's coming directly from the market in front of a PI and scientist, the language barrier, I'm not talking about English, I'm talking about the level of understanding. This is a scientist who speaks purely science and might not be able to understand what an SME who's coming purely from an industry who wants to basically solve a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we are intermediate in between and saying, okay, we translate your language, we actually take your challenge, package it in a nice way, and put it in front of those scientists who can actually help.
That's great. So you know your audience and you know how to deliver the message across.
Absolutely.
That's actually really great to hear. And all of this has been very insightful information. Engineer Sami, thank you so much. Which this brings me to my last question of the day. How are you finding the GPCA Annual Forum so far? Did you enjoy the program and the exchange of knowledge and information that you've been exposed to here?
This is my first time being in GPCA, and I think it's a great pleasure to be here. I was also invited to be a moderator in a panel for the leaders of tomorrow.
Yes.
It was a beautiful, alhamdulillah. We were able to talk about our experiences and invite the young leaders into innovations and all that. And honestly speaking, I think it's a brilliant program. It's a brilliant conference and exhibition, and at the same time, so much knowledge happening here. Alhamdulillah. I've attended this morning sessions. The booth is generating a lot of leads for us. Alhamdulillah. A lot of companies come and talk to us and tell us. In fact, just a few minutes ago, one company brought me a challenge. So you are a university? Here's my challenge. I quickly jotted down, so we will go back and we'll work with it. Long story short, I think we need more of that.
Yes.
And I this morning I heard the news that GPCA next year will be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Beautiful. I think it's a beautiful news, and I also heard the news that every year it will go to different GCC countries. Brilliant. I think you guys are on the right track. You guys are attracting the right audience.
Yes.
I think this whole area is full of talent in this area. I think we should be able to tap on those talents. And thank you so much for inviting me to the conference and to the interview today.
Thank you, Engineer Sami. It's my pleasure to have you with us here today. And thank you for your time and for your very remarkable insights, I would say. I hope you enjoy the rest of the forum with us. Again, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until next time.
Thank you.